Okay, so ever since I saw that Blade trailer at the Game Awards last year, something big has been on my mind about Xbox. And I think they just confirmed it. What does that Blade trailer have in common with these 3 games on screen that we also just got trailers for? It's been right in front of our faces this whole time, and these Xbox execs are teasing and hiding it.
I'll refrain from comment.
My fellow speculators, this is how Xbox plans to remove themselves from the competition, but it's gonna be a big gamble. I got some reports and whatnot that I'm gonna flash on screen through this whole thing to back up certain ideas and claims that I have, but just know the answer to that trailer question, it's just they're all missing a very obvious label that every single other game in that Xbox showcase we got this year had. So why are these 4 trailers missing that label? It has to do with the big 3 and just the fact that as much as I love Xbox, they admit it, tons of people that aren't flag wavers will admit it, they've been riding this 3rd place train for a long time in the whole console holder between Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox. But they're constantly compared to PlayStation. Why are they never compared to Nintendo? The GameCube launched right alongside the Xbox and the PlayStation 2. The Wii launched right alongside the PlayStation 3 and the 360. The Wii U launched right alongside the Xbox One and PS4. To say that they're just different, that's not exactly just it. They launched their next system, their next-gen console, even though it wasn't a big leap in graphics or whatever, but still, they launched what their idea for their next generation was over 3 years after and before that Xbox and PlayStation would do the same. There's a lot of reports and rumors that are saying Xbox is going to get a jump start on the next generation and release their next-gen system, maybe systems, there's more on that in a moment, in 2026, which will be 2 years ahead of the 2028 proposal for PlayStation 6, apparently. Now, there's a lot of people that have talked about this already, but the thing I don't see a lot of people talking about is this potential that the next-gen Xbox is moving completely forward and away from the Xbox Series family. No more S, no more X. It is just this next-gen system. So why are we talking about this now? What does that have to do with the 4 trailers? Well, those 4 trailers, Blade, State of Decay 3, Gears of War E-Day, Perfect Dark, they are all 4 missing this platform label that every other game in that Xbox showcase had. If you look at all the trailers in that showcase, they all let us know, hey, this is going to be on Xbox Series. Even the 2025 games. The 2025 games you see like Doom, Fable, South of Midnight, they all have that Game Pass or Xbox Series S and X at the bottom of it. Even the partnered stuff like Fragpunk, Winterboro, Mixtape, and Atomfall, they all had just a bland Xbox label on it, which probably means that they intend to release it either on the Xbox One and Xbox Series, just to have that open, or maybe something else. They just kind of want to keep it open. It's going to be on an Xbox platform of some kind. So why didn't these 4 games have even a label like that?
I can see it, I feel it. It's cooking.
These 4 games are planned to exclusively release on the next-gen system in 2026 and beyond. That is a bold claim, and I have some visuals I'm going to pop up to back that up. And I would imagine there is a lot of concerns over if this is true. Like a lot of people, and I'm one of them, like it just feels like this next gen just started. You're telling me you're going to kind of just leave behind that previous gen? Here's why they're doing this, and I actually think it's a pretty good idea. Some reports are claiming that they are ditching the double SKU strategy, aka the Xbox One S and the Xbox One X, aka the Xbox Series S, the Xbox Series X. They are apparently moving on from that strategy that has resulted with games having to have like perfect parity with each other other than maybe graphic resolution or frame rate. Things like Baldur's Gate 3 not launching. Things like Black Myth Wukong not launching. Things like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 being held back by that Series S hardware as to what they had planned for the game. And it's become a challenge to cater to that promise in exchange for that cheaper price that might sell more of that hardware. It's also led to the first parties having to build for that system rather than focusing on the Series X. Xbox had a cross-gen strategy for this gen. They wanted to not only have the 2, consoles for people to choose from, but they also wanted to cater to the Xbox One side of things. Even just the first year of the series family, you had games like Psychonauts 2, Halo Infinite, and Forza Horizon 5. Those were kind of the three big, in terms of Xbox releases, and those were all three games that released not only on both series, but even on Xbox One. PlayStation, meanwhile, not only did that by releasing Spider-Man Miles Morales, say what you will about the size of that game, it was still a hype cross-gen release, but they also had a pluffer of exclusives to fully maximize that hardware. Even first-party wise, I'm talking about like Demon's Souls, Returnal, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. Then there's the partnered stuff like the Final Fantasy VII Integrate thingy. Ironically enough, Ghostwire Tokyo and Deathloop. And then they had more that they were promising in the future in their first year that are exclusive to PlayStation 5, like Final Fantasy 16, Spider-Man 2, and Stellar Blade. And this point isn't about necessarily like PlayStation exclusives. It's about PlayStation 5 exclusive. Games that were fully utilizing the tech that system had that, yes, was a little bit weaker than the Series X, but a lot stronger than the Series S. So if these reports are true that Xbox is ditching that double SKU strategy, I think that'd be a good move, personally. Xbox could still own the fact that they are top-notch in backwards compatibility, which, oh my god, point number 3, there is a massive note about that. Maybe the way they'll counteract this is like have the whole cloud thing working for the series to play next-gen systems. They already kind of do that with the Xbox One. And by then, you know, they've worked out a lot of kinks. And before we get back to those games and that being the biggest factor, you know, like a really quick note is point number 2, the 360 and Switch effect. Xbox admitted that losing the 8th gen, aka PS4, Xbox One, that was huge. That literally shifted everything as people transitioned to like the digital era and kind of moving on and so on. So what's the solution? You separate yourself from the competition rather than trying to compete with them. Even though Sarah Bond said that this is going to be like the biggest technical leap that any console's ever had, does that mean that the PlayStation 6 will be weaker? No, probably not. It's probably going to be a way more hardware technical console. But that isn't as important as just separating yourself. We've seen something like the Switch still, it's like it's close to being the highest sold console ever, and it is not a super graphical powerhouse. And the way that Xbox got a big leap on, if we are going to do the console wars with PlayStation, it was when they released a full year ahead of the PlayStation 3 with the 360 era, which was our favorite era. Like, let me know. Like, I actually love the Series era personally, but I think it'd be hard to argue that the 360 era was when they were like, this time they're going 2 years ahead, kind of like the Switch, with them doing it for over 3 years. You hear Sarah Bond, both in the business update earlier this year and the Xbox showcase, going like, we are like fully, like we are gunning and rushing to get to that next gen. Like we are committed. We're working on it already. Like she is outwardly expressing that. And you could kind of feel it in her voice. Like they are legit gearing up for this plan. A plan that could lead to my favorite point in this whole thing, the craziest launch year in the history of Xbox. Maybe even the craziest launch year of just anything ever. If you thought this year's Xbox Game Showcase was insane, dude, okay. 2026 marks the 20th anniversary of Gears of War, which would be a perfect time to release Gears of War E-Day, kind of like they released Halo Infinite on its 20th anniversary. The schedule for Blade, Perfect Dark, and State of Decay 3 really line up to be released in 2026, if not very shortly after, with all 3 games being in development for more than 5 years. Also, 2026 will have been 5 years later from when the newest Halo game came out from 343 Industries, from Psychonauts 2 coming out from Double Fine, and from the Forza Horizon team at Playground Games. Yes, they have a separate team, not working on Fable, but we're still working on Forza, as I show on screen here. And we will probably get those games released around there too, if not within that launch year. If Call of Duty takes a break in 2025, you know for a fact they will release one in 2026. And if that releases like right alongside when this console launches, yeah, it's gonna be on PlayStation. Yeah, it might even be on the new Nintendo. But to play it on this powerhouse of a system and it be on Game Pass, that's gonna pull a shit ton of people over. And in the FTC case where Microsoft was fighting to get Activision Blizzard King, we found out that Elder Scrolls 6 is projected to release in like 2026. Are you getting a picture of how crazy this is. And look, some of these games might release before the console launches, around when the console launches, and the year following. But that is still an insane lineup. I haven't even talked about like the partnered and third-party stuff that they're going to gravitate to this console finally, because that's the highest hardware that you could design a game on, as long as they don't do the multiple SKU thing. This gives me the 360 vibes all over again. You're releasing 2 years ahead. You're going to have the biggest hardware to release games on, and it's just games. Games sell systems. And and you remember that massive note that I got close to the mic for earlier? Yeah, Xbox is kind of the leader when it comes to backwards compatibility. And even if there's games that release like multi-platform from those third parties or whatever, it's going to play the best on this system that will have released 2 years later from the PS5 Pro, if that's even happening. Even games that don't release on it exclusively, it will still be the best place to play everything. And all the games I listed earlier from first party will be things that people just sign up with Game Pass to play them. When I think about those 4 trailers and why they didn't have those labels, it really, like, this makes sense to me. This is the plan. This is the way that Xbox plans to really not overtake everybody, but rather just separate themselves. They have like a 2-year response to the PS5 Pro. They have a 2-year jump from the PS6. They have enough time to be away from the next Nintendo system. It makes all 3 of these guys become their own thing. Sure, PlayStation will have a big jump on them when they release the PS6 with hardware, but it's like by that time, is it going to matter much? We've kind of already reached our graphical peak, so is it going to matter much? Okay, let's calm down, because yes, there are issues with this plan. Like, how much would this next gen system cost? Like, that's concerning. Is this going to be approachable for anybody? Can they really commit to a single SKU strategy? Like, there's a lot of us that are debating about, will handheld be a thing? And will Xbox have really earned people's trust back by, having a constant stream of quality games? Other than a bunch of reports from insiders, we're going to have to wait on those first 2 questions. But the quality debate, that's already been settled here. And spoilers, they've done pretty damn good. But you can offer your takes to these questions and this whole theory in the comments below, and subscribe to find out with me, because boy, I am really curious to see if this comes to fruition.